You have a very distinctive voice. So I'm curious if you ever imagined that you would have such like an amazing voiceover career.
It's not a voice that I imagine people typically want to hear a lot. I
That's not
think
true.
that's it. Well, no, really. I really didn't. I thought it was always kind of grating, but yeah. I mean,
let's go with distinctive, not grating. Distinctive.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, that's another word for it. Yeah, and I think it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy like using my voice in ways that like I never would imagine it, and I definitely feel like on fire. You know, like not that I'm doing on fire, doing well, but like I just feel like there's a fire lit under my ass, and I'm just like going. You know,
Yeah.
it's great. So I really enjoy the work.
It's definitely a moment for you to be in a film like this. This is like a big, rousing Disney adventure. It's really beautifully done. Raya and the Last Dragon. Does this fit under the category of like dream you didn't even know you had as a kid? I would expect this isn't like one day I'm going to be doing this. It's just sort of like when the opportunity comes, it's like, oh my God, just yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with Disney movies, especially because they're such like a kind of ingrained part of our childhood, and then, you know, as a result, our lives, right? When you're asked to be a part of them, it's like it is a whole other level of like, this is so crazy, you know, what this means, what this will mean, what I know it means to children. And then I think specifically one that has this kind of cultural significance of kind of like the first Southeast Asian Disney princess. You know, those are things that are everlasting and significant in ways that for an Asian American like me, it means a lot.
There's a long lineage of these kinds of emotional but comic relief kind of characters in Disney films. What struck you about Sisu?
I think what struck me about Sisu initially is the allowances that I was given to kind of give her my own voice. That was really an amazing opportunity. And also that you don't really see dragons like this, specifically like Sisu. Ones that get kind of like a reflective in a way that they know they're not perfect, they have flaws. You know, you just don't see that. So I feel like being a character like this one, that was really cool.
I spoke to Kelly Marie Tran pretty recently about, and she was very emotional about this kind of opportunity too, as you said, for Southeast Asian princess in a Disney film. Have you met Kelly? Because I guess under the circumstances, would you have even ever crossed paths in person?
Yeah, we definitely crossed paths. You know, we haven't, and we're familiar. We have mutual friends, but we haven't really met because, you know, a lot of the filming of Raya was done in lockdown.
Right.
So we in person it's been different. But I mean, we're doing press now, and I really adore and love her. I think that she's like amazing, and I definitely want to catch up with her. Every time we're on these Zooms, it's always like, we gotta talk. We can't do it now, but we're gonna talk, like that kind of thing. So I'm looking forward to it.
So you play a dragon in this one. In Little Mermaid, which we're going to hopefully see before too long, you're going to be playing a seagull. Are you worried about getting typecast as animals in film?
Actually, it's funny because I think this is my third bird. Yeah, so I don't know why they keep casting me as birds. What's up with that?
You need to expand.
No, it's great.
You need to go into yeah.
No. I think it's bird-like. But yeah, no, I'm so excited for that. I think Growing Up Scuttle was definitely one of those characters that I really loved. So then when given the opportunity and then like, you know, filming with Rob Marshall and talking to Lynn about the music, it was crazy opportunity.
It's also fun to think that like your audience is expanding. I mean, obviously between the audience for Raya and who's going to see Little Mermaid, there's going to be a whole generation of kids that are going to be obsessed with these.
Oh man, no, I haven't thought about it like that. I haven't thought of it. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy when you think about it like that. Yeah.
You've talked a lot in the past, obviously, about how certain performers like Margaret Cho and Lucy Liu were very meaningful for you growing up to see yourself in comedy or in acting. Again, like taking a step back, you do realize like you are that now for many kids today. And does that change? Is that something you're aware of? Is that something that helps, you know, feel the responsibility of the choices you make, or is it something you have to kind of let go of, or it's gonna just screw with your head when you make stuff?
You know, I think in the very beginning, I don't think that you necessarily understand the responsibility in a way that you do eventually later. Sometimes you just feel like maybe you're not that good of a representative maybe, and maybe like you don't understand what if the good things, all the bad things they represent, I don't want that to come off on everyone and things like that. But I think it is also like, I think that I am not aware of it because Margaret Cho was the first Asian American woman I saw on television, like that, and Lucy Liu, the first Asian American woman I saw like in a big movie. Seeing that, you then realize like what you're missing, and that's the thing with representation, right? And I think that I was lucky enough to come into the industry at a time where I think there were a lot of Asian American idols and kind of representation that existed, and that simultaneously with me exist. So that's the good thing about, the better thing about how it is for, I think, the younger generations, is that it's a more inclusive industry now in general in terms of how much you're seeing, right? As opposed to when I was growing up specifically.
Well, it's interesting also to note, like, something like this, Raya and the Last Dragon, something like Shang-Chi, which is going to be another big moment, culturally speaking, I would venture. Sure. Like, this film is coming in the wake of these really sad events, obviously, that are going on in the States, and like these anti-Asian American attacks. I don't know, does that juxtaposition strike you in any way? That, like, we're taking 2 steps forward and then we take 1 step back. We can get caught up in the positive, and then we're reminded of the crap that we're still dealing with out there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just super disturbing and devastating, the events of late. And also, you're right. I think at these specific moments, I think that there's another kind of message that I've always believed in, is that, representation, it does bleed into kind of how we're kind of humanized in real life. And I think that, these movies that come, they bring awareness to our community in the United States. And I think that that's an important thing. However, when you see these events kind of simultaneously happen, you do realize that you don't feel like there is harmony in everything. And so I think they're starting to get the kind of attention and spotlight and coverage that they deserve, which I think in the beginning wasn't really there. And to the point where I wasn't even aware of some of these things because they weren't in my feeds, right? And this movie, the themes of it as a kid's movie, right? Unity, kind of division, and like coming together and trust. These are things that I think really do shed light on kind of what we need right now. I think it'll hopefully promote a better understanding of where we're coming from.
Having talked to you in the past and having watched interviews with you, I've noticed that for someone so successful, you're often preoccupied with self-doubt. And I wonder if do you still feel that? Like, is there a correlation between more success alleviating self-doubt, or is it still there?
No, if anything, it probably creates more, but maybe it teaches you to hide it a little bit more. I guess, I don't know. I haven't learned that. Yeah, I definitely run on self-doubt. I mean, I think that I don't know if I'd be here today without it, because I don't think I've ever been satisfied with any level of life or any kind of achievement that I think I've made in my own head, which is something that I think is good. But I also think that I definitely had a stronger kind of vibe of imposter syndrome in the earlier days of my career. Definitely Neighbors 2, working with all those Shiros and Ocean's 8. That was definitely something that came up. But I think in the last year or two, I started to come to peace with it, in terms of like, I know now how hard I work. I really do. I lose sleep over this. It consumes me. It's the greatest source of my joy and my pain and everything else. And so I love that for it. So that in a way quells that imposter syndrome, where I feel more at peace with like why I'm here. And so the self-doubt, I'll always have it a little bit, but I think there's a larger security a peace that I've come to find.
It also strikes me like your persona, if there is one, is so full of confidence. You know what I mean? And it strikes me even more when I hear you talk about having doubts over the years. That, like, do you find that like over the years that's something that just turns on and off like a light switch? Like when the camera's on, you can kind of like go to a different place and find that confidence?
See that, and that's the thing. It's like it's the self-doubt. I think I kind of use it because I don't know if it's a confidence or like a quality of like being unembarrassable, I think is what it is. Like, it's like, I'll do things that people are like, I would never do that. Right. Or like, I can't, like, why, but, and so I've always been very like keen to that. And when the camera does come on, I do have a sense of confidence that I definitely probably don't even have in real life. Talking like in conversations like this, I do feel like a comfort there. And, I think that you really can't have one without the other. I don't think that it was only always one or only always the other. Maybe that's a thing of a personality, or really just a part of me. You can say that it is part of the persona, or, maybe it's me, so it's something I've grappled with. Yeah.
When you look back to the last bunch of years, is there one phone call, like one email that you look back on, like, that was the best phone call I've ever received? Like that was a moment where like it felt like things were really changing for the better.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely had those calls. I think, you never really trust calls, because you never know if like that opportunity later, or how it'll, if it'll even still exist after the initial call, right? But I did have a call recently that I did feel that way. And it was my dad. We talked on FaceTime for like over 2 or 3 hours, which like we never do. And, I know that he's proud of me. I know that in the beginning, he definitely didn't care for this career choice. He definitely wanted me to do other things. But, he's like, Nora, I think, if your mom were here, she'd be like really proud of you, kind of thing. You've done things that even when you were in high school or college that people didn't think that you could do, and you did it. And I didn't even realize that he clocked those moments. But to hear him kind of have that, like it's not pride, but kind of an acknowledgement, like, all those years that you struggled and that I probably gave you. I also did see the times where you wanted to improve yourself and things like that. That meant a lot to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe the last time we spoke was actually for the farewell a couple years back. Sundance. Yeah. The screening had just happened. And
you were in that cabin.
Yes,
exactly. The screening just happened. You're the first person. That's why. I think that's why, like, when I see you, I'm just like, oh, I love this guy. Okay, yes.
Well, that's just by the luck of association. That yes, we were the first conversation. I think right after that.
I walked into you. Like I just walked in. Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Yes.
So that was such an amazing moment, such an amazing run for that film, for Lulu, for you. Looking back, were you more concerned about being able to pull off like a drama, or more concerned that the audience would accept you in a drama?
Oh,
or was it a little bit of both?
Literally both. Yeah. Literally those two things. At first, when I looked at the material, it was like, I understand this. I feel it. It makes me want to cry. It makes me want to call my grandma, like all of those things. I understand it, but I don't know how to do drama. I've never taken an acting class. I don't know what this involves. Do I have to get the menthol drops for my eyes? What is this going to entail? And also, if it is that much that it's separate from kind of like the way that you feel in your stomach and in your gut, is it even doable, right? And then also, like, if I do feel like, oh my God, I am, welcome. I'm here. You're a dramatic actress. Then will people be like, wow, this is horrible. This is really bad. This is just really, and my whole thing was that I don't care if it was bad, but I think a worse criticism would be that it was inauthentic. It's because, and it's not because that it was scared of the performance. Like I felt authentically moved by this. And so yes, you really defined it on the head.
Well, you nailed it. Both you and Lou nailed it. An amazing piece of work. And I can't tell you how excited I am about Shang-Chi. So this one is another big step, a big Marvel movie. And like I said before, potentially a big cultural moment. Not only a great film, but like, Black Panther had a lot on it and it more than lived up to it. And in some ways, it feels like Shang-Chi could be that too. Like, is that something discussed on the set? Like you have two jobs. You want to make a great movie, but you also want to honor a culture. And honor people like yourself watching themselves on a screen. Did it feel like there was a weight on set of big expectations, or what?
I don't think that there was necessarily a weight or something that kind of was a negative thing in terms of that it like bogged us down. I don't think that that existed. I think that the really cool things about these movies, Raya, Crazy Rich Asians, and Shang-Chi, is that they have these cultural elements of like our backgrounds and our kind of backstories, things that as people that we kind of, we know our culture in certain ways. We respect our ancestors, we respect that ancestry and those elements of our culture. But at the same time, we are Asian American, right? So Shang-Chi definitely explores what it means to also be Asian American. And that was something that was really cool, and not something that I think was a question of pressure, but rather something of this is who we are. I know that there was one specific scene. I don't even know how much I can really say about it, but there's one specific scene we filmed with someone who I've worked with before and who I'm a huge fan of, Ronnie Chang. And it was just, we're Asian American, you know, and it was kind of like a callback to that kind of representation. Yeah, something that while we were filming, I didn't know that it would like strike me like that, but it was striking.
Is it the best of all possible worlds to get to be in a Marvel movie and not have to, as I understand it, you're not doing the fighting necessarily in this, so you don't have to do like 17 hours in the gym, so you still get to have some fun and not kill yourself, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wasn't. There's some really, really amazing fighters and fighting, and other people doing that heavy lifting, no pun intended. But you know, then I would find myself like, you know, hanging off a pole and being like, oh wait, so I am doing, you know, this is happening. Doing a Marvel movie, I think was so incredible in that way, because it is just really, really fun. You feel really protected. And you feel like, you know, you really are working with the best of the best. So
yeah.
Yes, in that way it was the best of both worlds. I wasn't training that hard.
So you're back home shooting season 2 of Nora from Queens. What are the lessons learned from season 1? What can we expect from the new season?
We're doing it now, and it's so exciting. It's so fun. I think the first season of anything, what I'm learning now is that you're always going to be finding who you are as a show, right?
Right.
And then in the second season, what's cool is that it kind of weeds out, you know, the really core group of that team of the first season that you kind of develop as a family, and then you take that family on to season 2 and you add more members of the family. And yeah, I mean, like it's really exciting to be able to work in this way, to produce and to also write, you know, like to be involved in that phase of the process now. I feel a little bit more secure in that role than I did in the first season. So it's really great. I'm having a lot of fun. I think it's gonna be really fun.
What are the pluses and minuses at this point of having the alter ego versus Nora? Like, I mean, could you imagine a time when you would retire Awkwafina and go by Nora?
You know, it's funny because it's like I never really had exact plans on that, but I feel like a lot of people around me keep bringing it up. like just people are like, so like what? So you like, when are you gonna like lose it? And it's like, and then I think it goes back to like how you personally see who I am. Like there's some people who want to call me Nora and some people who want to call me Awkwafina. And it's like, I think it does come kind of down to like the eye of the beholder. If you think this is more of an Awkwafina thing than more of a Nora thing, that's really how you see it, right? Because for me, the one thing that I've come to terms to is that they're indelibly the one person, and that where I used to kind of see it as this dichotomized kind of like, well, they're too different and I need this one as an imaginary friend or something like that. They are the same person. So, you know, I haven't thought about it really.
Right.
But I don't know, maybe there will be a day. Maybe I'll retire Nora. Who knows? I don't know. You know, I don't think it's possible.
When we were talking about Farewell a couple years back, you were feeling pretty optimistic about the kind of roles that you were getting and pursuing, films and TV that wasn't even necessarily tied to ethnicity or culture, that were just good roles. I guess have the last 2 years borne that out? Are you seeing great material? Do you still feel the optimism of a wide range of roles that come across your desk?
Yeah, and I think that they're different now because a lot of these stories now are coming from maybe first-time filmmakers that are, you know, Asian American or of a specific background that are telling this very specific story, and I'm just seeing more of like a kind of a diversity there, the representation there of like these stories are being headlined by directly from either the source or these people want to be filmmakers of and write. I think that those are great. Those opportunities I think are more now. And then I think I'm very blessed in that when I do get a handful of jobs, I'm kind of able to really see which ones I really want to do, which ones I really can manifest, what are right. So to be given those options, I think is like a blessing for sure.